The reveals in Star Wars Acolyte are coming slowly but surely. But the real problem lies a little bit deeper. Welcome to Star Wars Uplink. I think Star Wars Acolyte is the last kind of this show that we're going to get. For both good and bad. I was talking about in another video on the channel about how Star Wars Acolyte I think is going to be the shifting moment for Star Wars for both good and bad. Yeah. I think we're going to see this be the pivotal moment where Star Wars starts to get a lot worse in the fandom. And there's going to be an overcorrection, whether that be in the actual stories that get told or how those stories get told or how those stories are actually perceived or taken a part of. Whether that's like, okay, we're going to actually slow down most of the TV shows to where we aren't going to get more things like this.
Right.
Or it's going to accelerate it to where we get more things like this. And I think this episode 4 of Star Wars The Acolyte is a clear determinant of this trend or foundation that is actually like getting built up. There have been a lot of times in Star Wars where the community just gets terribly toxic.
For sure.
If you look, I think ultimately it began with the prequels. The prequels were kind of the beginning of this subsect of Star Wars fans, and it's not the majority at all. Like if you talk to a normal person about Star Wars, they just kind of don't care.
Right.
Like, yeah, Star Wars is great, or I only watch these movies.
Yep. I watched this and I stopped there and that was great. And I loved it.
Most of Star Wars fans aren't watching Acolyte.
No.
They aren't watching Book of Boba Fett. They aren't watching Andor. They aren't watching Ahsoka.
Yeah.
They're probably just watching The Mandalorian.
Yeah, if that.
And then Star Wars movies.
Right, exactly. If not just the movies. If not just the original trilogy, honestly.
Yeah. Or it's something that they love. They love like the things that surround Star Wars, and then they just watch them once a year.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a lot of what the average Star Wars fan does. And then there's the community of Star Wars fans that actually
watch everything,
tear it apart for both good and bad.
Yep.
But going back to the topic at hand, nothing happened in Star Wars Acolyte.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a great case study on learning about Star Wars, like what Star Wars can do well. And I think Leslie Headland made a mistake with this project. It seems like she had an idea for a story and an ultimate like goal and thing she wanted to say of like what happens when the specific kind of Star Wars thing that we know of is flipped on its head. And then she got really into the High Republic and was like, crap, I need to put all the stuff in here.
Sure.
So it went from being like, I want to tell this story to now I want to make this be the Star Wars High Republic show.
Right.
Because now I'm such a big fan of Star Wars The High Republic. I just want to showcase a lot of the Star Wars The High Republic.
Sure. I don't think that's really a problem. I think a story like this can and should maybe be told in this way, but I think it feels like it's the medium that's the problem.
Yes.
I'm all for a great story. I'm all for a little kitschy moment or whatever. Totally fine. That's normal. That's Star Wars.
Yeah.
But
not when you have only 8 episodes to tell that story.
We only have 8 episodes, and it feels like at this point, we're not in the Rebels realm. We're not in Bad Batch where we can have these little like in between.
Yeah, that's the strength of something like Clone Wars or Bad Batch or Rebels is like you have these downtime moments that ultimately don't mean anything.
Sure. Except for strengthening characters and getting to know things, and
But in the Acolyte's case, they don't actually do any of that.
Yeah, and
there's a couple shining moments.
Sure.
I think May's acting is like really starting to come into place of like what kind of a character she is. The writing is still pretty rough.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the writing is actually pretty terrible. The ideas I think are actually pretty strong.
Yeah.
The acting, I think, is pretty strong.
It's what's carrying it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the story itself, I think, fails in a lot of the key ways a story needs to succeed. I don't think that is a problem with the story that they're trying to tell.
Yeah.
I think it's like you say, it's the medium in which they're trying to tell it.
Yeah.
They're trying to tell a 16 to 24 episode story in 8 episodes.
That, or this should have just been a movie that we just condensed into 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the story would probably work better as a movie because you have 2.5 hours to do this. It feels like they're needlessly stretching these moments to just flesh out a kind of short story.
The production is there. Like,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. They're doing a lot of different stuff. Like, I'm loving the costumes and things.
Yeah, the costumes
like,
are gorgeous.
The only trouble is that we're sitting with it for too long.
Yeah.
And then we're feeling like, oh, this is a set. Like,
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Like we're seeing it for too long when it kind of should just be a bunch of different shots.
right. Like, we just need to be moving through this. Yeah. Instead, we're sitting here watching them walk through this.
And you're like, actually, that's just probably a big room that they built the forest in.
They're walking through this parasite-infested forest, and we're only seeing the same 8 trees.
Yeah,
this whole
from
time.
different angles, and you're like, "Oh crap, that is right." Oh my gosh, yeah, that is a great way to say it. Like the production design is there. You can see they have money.
Yeah,
and you can see that they use that money. They just show it way too long.
We're just
long.
there too long because we're stretching this story out. We're not letting just the natural beats of this flow. Like it really feels like they're trying to make this into a TV show when it should have just been something shorter.
Yeah.
Or just something more robust in a smaller compact size or longer.
Yeah.
Like, or a much more developed story.
So they can actually go through the 70 threads that they have right now that are loose.
Yeah. Like, so that we could go into each individual character story that's we're going through here. Like,
and see May's path, see Osha's path. Because right now, Osha's like, yeah, kill her. That's great. Do it. And May's like, actually, I think I need to stay with my sister. And both of those statements come out of the blue.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I wasn't buying it.
I'm now theorizing that by the end of the show, Osha might turn to the dark side.
That
and
would
then
be quite
May
the something.
takes the flip.
Yep. I like it. I like that idea.
Because you can kind of see it in moments within like the flashback of episode 3 where May is like pretty aggressively like, no, I'm having my own life here, which is very much a dark side thing to say of like, I want to be singular.
You mean Osha?
Yeah,
Osha's
Osha.
the one.
Osha.
The one that runs off, goes on her own to the tree.
And
that
she's
they're
like,
not
I want to
supposed
live my
be
life.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. She's the independent, don't tell me what to do type.
Yeah.
Who got somehow stuck in, or wanted to be a Jedi, but then got
and then
out of the Jedi.
Understood that she couldn't be a Jedi.
Because she's got too many emotions and feelings and cannot
Which
let
is very
go of things.
Sithy.
Very interesting. Ooh, are we coming to a theory here?
I think we just stumbled upon one. Yeah, there's something wrong with Star Wars Acolyte, which is just like, there are great moments. I'm not going to deny that.
No.
There are some incredible moments. There's some incredible set pieces. There's some incredible acting chops that are here.
I'm enjoying the story for what it is.
Yeah. I just kind of wish it was better in many different ways.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying like, no, I think they should do a different show. I'm like, no, keep the same premise, keep all these things. I would just tweak a lot of the story structure. I would say, hey, we only have 8 episodes. There's a lot of stuff I'd cut out here. I would probably start the story further along. I would say have those 2 or 3 Jedi Masters already be dead. And then the Jedi are in disarray.
Yeah.
And they're trying to react to this.
Yep.
And we've already gotten past a bunch of those moments with Osha.
Yep.
So now we have a story that's already going on.
Yep.
Which is what Star Wars excels at.
Yep.
Star Wars is known for starting in the middle of a story, not from where it began.
Yeah.
And I think these are some things that could make this show so much better. But I think because of the expectations and the want to explore the High Republic more, that is where some of the limitations fall for the series. So I don't think it's anyone involved's issues. I think it's mostly around how these stories and these shows are made that are affecting the end product here.
I could see it. It definitely feels like most of the trouble is in the pacing. It's in the
long stretches. A lot of stuff happens, episode ends. Long stretches, nothing happens, and then episode ends.
And yeah, and we're all just walking through a forest, and it's like, what? But we're not actually getting into people's stories. I loved the third episode because we're actually getting into backstory and into
there were some key
culture.
moments of that made characters. By the start of the episode, we have characters that we aren't familiar with, and then by the end of the episode, we have their motivations and their reason why.
Yeah.
At the beginning of this episode, all of the characters are the same.
Yep.
In terms of how they are perceived, and it's kind of out of the blue all the changes that happen to the characters.
Yes. Yeah. We not walked through.
Really Osha's about to peace out and like, hey, kill my sister for me. Thanks. Bye.
Gotta go.
And May's like, actually, I should probably have my loyalty lie to my sister. And there's nothing that actually happens to motivate either of those decisions.
Correct. Yes. It's just dialogue. It's just them coming out and saying these things that they've apparently had internal thoughts about, and they are just saying it now, and we have no connection with those decisions at all.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. There's so much good here. It's just hard to get to. Like, you have to kind of climb for it, and you kind of have to bring a lot of headcanon to it to make this story work.
We need some good fan fiction on this one.
Yeah,
I need some people to go in this and like get some backstory, get some character development going in the background.
We need
here.
the Acolyte rewritten.
Yes.
A fan fiction. Yeah, for sure. But let us know your thoughts on this. I know this is a little bit of a different kind of video on the channel, but wanted to play around with this idea of just talking about how Acolyte is doing these things that I think they could do better in the future, or they can take a lot of learnings from. I still think all of these characters would benefit from a second season. I think there's a lot here that they could dive into deeper.
Absolutely.
I wish they would dive in deeper. They have the time for it. They're freaking wandering around in the forest, fighting random bugs. Like, they could do this.
Oh, yeah. That they could.
They could have all the stuff that we're talking about in the show. It's just they don't.
They could have set up a premise of, like, this is what's happening, and then we go into backstory in every single episode, and then wrap it all up in, like, 2 episodes at the end.
Yeah.
It could have almost been like that. It would have been way more, like, punchy.
Yeah. You have, like, the 2 stories being told that are, like, flip sides of each other, which gets into the duality side of things. And then we have kind of like the fruition and the learning moments of each. Like, you could honestly have the main line story be Osha's perspective, and then the past be May's perspective. And then they meet each other at the end.
I'm just saying.
There's, again,
so many different ways.
There's a lot of different ways that they could go around these same beats, just package it better, in my opinion. I know a lot of people love this show. I know a lot of people that are on the fence about this show. I know a lot of people that kind of want to like this show, but they can't.
That's me.
Yeah. I would love to love this show.
Yep.
Or I would love to hate this show.
That's true.
Instead, I'm just in the middle of, like, I love moments of this and I hate other moments of this.
Yep. It is what it is, and I'm still here for it, I guess.
Yep. But, again, let us know in the comments below. Check out our podcast, and may the Force be with you.